Hi Stampers, this is Holly from Rubber Redneck. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator and welcome to another Rubber Redneck video tutorial. Today's video, I'm going to be demonstrating the Painted Petals picture frame. I'm using the stamp set called Dictionary out of our main catalog, and I'm using the Painted Petals stamp set that is available in our Occasions catalog. This is what I'll be making. It's a fun, beautiful picture frame. This is what it'll look like on the front. And here's a side view. And then here's the back view of the little stand I created to put on the back. And then it'll just stand upright like that. This is really fun to make, and this makes a great gift for friends, family, co-workers, or if you're another Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, this would make a fun idea for a class too as well, or for a hostess gift. Now to create this, you want to cut one piece of rose red cardstock at 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. Cut one piece of wild wasabi cardstock at 4 inches by 5 1/4. Take the stamp from Painted Petals, ink it in wild wasabi, and stamp down the right side of the wild wasabi cardstock. You're going to keep doing that until you have that whole side stamped on. Then you want to go part ways across the bottom. Then you're going to zip the wild wasabi cardstock through the Big Shot with the honeycomb embossing folder to give it that fun background texture. Once you have that embossed, then you're going to place this onto your cutter, and what you're going to want to do is measure over 3/4 of an inch from the side and cut. And you're just going to cut a little bit with your cutter, turn the cardstock, measure over 3/4 again, and cut. And keep doing that until you go all the way around this piece of cardstock. And then once you've cut some lines, then line them up to where they'll cut out all the way. So I always just place it on my little cutter and cut, and then I turn it, and then I cut, and then I turn it, and I cut again, and then I turn it, and I cut again, and then once I have those cut, then I go through and line up that cut line to this cut line on my little cutter. And then once you have that all done, you'll cut out the center of this, creating like a picture frame. So then once you have that part done, you're going to set these aside for a second. You want to cut one piece of Whisper White cardstock at 3 3/4 by 5 inches. Once you have that cut, take that that wild wasabi cardstock, and you're going to place that so it lines up onto that Whisper White cardstock. And then you want to take a pencil and draw a little line across the bottom here. And I just did 2 little spots. I just made 2 little marks. And then I made a mark here on the side and a mark on this side, and you want to make a mark up here at the top. Once you have that marked, now you know where you can stamp this image so it'll fit perfectly into your frame that you've created. So once you've done that, then you're going to take the Dictionary background stamp, ink it in Daffodil Delight, stamp off onto a piece of scratch paper, and then stamp onto your Whisper White cardstock. Then take the stamp from Painted Petals, ink it in Wild Wasabi, and stamp the stems. Then ink one of the roses in Blackberry Bliss and one rose in Rose Red, and line that up and stamp. And then you're going to stamp that again over here off to the left. Don't re-ink it in your ink pad, just stamp again so it gives it a softer look. Clean your stamp, and then you're going to ink your stamps in Rose Red and Daffodil Delight. Stamp off onto a piece of scratch paper, and then just stamp onto the Whisper White cardstock, and then stamp again. Then take your stamp from Painted Petals, the little leaf, ink them in Wild Wasabi, stamp off onto a piece of scratch paper, and then go back adding in little leaves to fill this in. I love this set because it creates that watercolor effect without actually having to do the watercoloring. That's what I love the most about this set. It's a lot of fun. Then I took the stamp again from Painted Petals, ink it in Blackberry Bliss, and stamp in the top left corner. So now I've created my little picture art here that's ready to be framed. You want to glue this to your rose red cardstock. So what I did was I just placed it on the rose red, and then before I glued it down, I placed this on top of it because I want to make sure everything's going to line up and be centered. So I just adjusted it kind of where I needed to so that the frame will look nice and centered and even on that rose red. Then once I have that on there, I just kind of paid attention, and then you're gonna glue your whisper white to that rose red. And you can even take a pencil and mark it again if you want to make sure you get it perfectly centered. And then I just glued it on there, and before it dried, I quickly checked it again to make sure everything is gonna line up so it looks nice and even. Once you have that part done, then you're gonna take some stamping dimensionals and you're gonna turn over your Wild Wasabi picture frame, and you're gonna put a stamping dimensional into the corners. Excuse me. Just put one in each corner. And then you're gonna need to put one in the center on the sides, because if you don't do that, it will kind of bow, and you don't want it to bow. So once you get your stamping dimensionals on there, just peel off the backing. And then you're gonna be ready to attach this to your rose red cardstock. So there's what the panel will look like when you're done. You just created your little framed artwork. Now to create the stand, you want to cut one piece of rose red cardstock at 1.5 by 4 inches. Place it onto your Simply Scored scoring tool and score at 2 inches. Once you have that scored, fold that over and use your bone folder to crease that down. Cut one piece of rose red cardstock at 1.5 by 2 inches. Place it onto your Simply Scored scoring tool and score at 1/2 inch and at 1 3/4. Once you have that scored, turn it over and put some sticky strip on the little 1/2 inch area that you scored. Then you're gonna fold this over on your scored line, use your bone folder and crease that down good. Once you have that creased, you're ready to attach this piece to that other piece of rose red cardstock. So what you want to do is fold this panel, this little 1/2 inch piece over, and you're going to line up your edge here with the other edge of the rose red. And you just want everything to be nice and even and flush here. Then you want to fold this piece over, peel off the backing, and then you're going to fold this over so that this will line up flush with the edge of that rose red cardstock. So you just want all your lines nice and flush there. All your edges, I mean. So now this is what it'll look like so far. Just like a little triangle, basically. Then you want to put some glue onto one side. It doesn't matter which side, just put some glue on there. And then you're going to turn over your work of art here. And then you're going to place this in the center, and on the bottom, what you want to do is line up your edge with this edge. So just place it in the center, and then make sure all your edges are flush. If you don't make sure, if they're not flush, then it's not going to stand right. So it'll kind of wobble a little bit. So you want to make sure you get that flush with that edge. So it'll look like this. You can see that in the video there. And then once you have that attached, then you've just created your little picture frame using the Painted Petals stamp set. Then to embellish it, I just added some rhinestone basic jewels. So I just took 2 of the medium size on the sheet here. And I put them down here below You Are Amazing. So they're just right there, right below that saying. And now it's ready to give to somebody. Visit my blog, rubberredneck.typepad.com. I'll have a little mini project sheet there that's available to download. And if you have any questions or would like to purchase any of the supplies to recreate this project, feel free to contact me. Thank you for watching.